Apparently, at least one of Senator Bernie Sanders' rivals is starting to worry he's growing a, quote, insurmountable Super Tuesday lead. That is according to a new piece by the Hill's national political reporter Jonathan Easley and Hill reporter Julia Manchester. A Buttigieg campaign memo also said, quote, in order to stop this outcome, a viable alternative needs to emerge.
Jonathan Easley joins us now via Skype. Jonathan, it's great to see you, man. How are you?
Hey, good. Good to be with you guys.
Absolutely. Jonathan, tell us a little bit about what you're hearing and seeing on the ground there in Nevada. What is the general feeling as to who is going to win the caucuses tomorrow?
Yeah, well, Bernie Sanders is the absolute favorite out here, and nothing happened at that debate on Wednesday night to change that. A few of his rivals went after him. No one really laid a glove on him. And 70,000 people have already taken advantage of the early caucusing out here. In 2016, I think the total turnout was about 85,000. So most people have already voted. Some of these candidates are going to be in town tonight, but a lot of them might not even be here on caucus day. Bernie Sanders is already starting to campaign in Texas and California. A lot of them are making these West state swings because most people have already voted. So we don't know who's leading right now. Certainly Sanders is the favorite, and his rivals are taking notice because he's looking strong in California, strong in Texas, the two biggest Super Tuesday states. And if he wins big in Nevada and then big in one of those two states, he might be able to run away with this thing.
Certainly. I mean, there seemed to be an incredible admission on the debate stage this week when Chuck Todd asked all the candidates what they would do, what they would support if a candidate had a plurality of the delegates coming in but not a majority. Everyone except Bernie Sanders said they would leave it up to the superdelegates, which basically indicates no one on that stage except for Bernie Sanders thinks that they're going to be winning coming into the convention.
Right, a real interesting moment, and especially we had all this chatter sort of leading up to the Nevada caucuses about stopping Bernie Sanders. You know, he could have a real statement victory out here. We've seen his support grow among Latino voters. There's not a lot of very reliable polling out here in Nevada, but if he does get that statement win, it's just going to make him stronger heading into those Super Tuesday states, and you're just going to see more panic. I think you're going to see the anti-Sanders crowd really go into overdrive in an effort to stop him, and obviously the one way that they think they could stop him would be at a contested convention. Sanders does not want it to get to that. Obviously, I think he would probably not win at a brokered convention. It's pretty much the reason someone like Michael Bloomberg is even in the race right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they don't want to get to that contested convention. All of his rivals went ahead and put it out there, said that, sorry, if you don't have a majority of the delegates, we're going to be coming after you still. So that'll be an interesting dynamic, but it's possible still that Sanders could just keep getting stronger and win a majority of delegates either way.
I think you're right there. And, one of the things I did want to focus on was that Buttigieg campaign memo. It's kind of a remarkable admission internally. I'm not really sure why they leaked it because it doesn't look very good for them. Jonathan, tell us a little bit about what it said, about how they're basically saying it could be over very soon.
Yeah, I mean, it's unusual for its bluntness about the state of the race. You don't often see campaign insiders willing to talk about the politics in this raw of a manner. The Bloomberg campaign did it as well. They released a memo, or it leaked right before the debate, and obviously things might have changed drastically for Bloomberg in the last couple of days, considering the terrible debate performance that he had and the way that Warren was able to cut him down. But yeah, it's I think it shows a level of desperation by the rival campaigns, which is very interesting because Buttigieg and Sanders effectively split the delegate haul in Iowa and New Hampshire. I mean, he's right in this thing if he can only build his base of support to include more voters of color. We haven't seen any evidence that he's been able to do that right now, and it doesn't seem likely that he's going to be able to overtake Sanders in Nevada. So it just Super Tuesday is March 3rd. 14 states, a third of the delegates will be allocated. If Bernie Sanders wins big on that day, people think that he won't be able to get stopped. So they feel the clock is ticking, these other campaigns. Certainly the Buttigieg campaign feels they're right in the thick of it, but they recognize that unless Democrats really coalesce around an alternative to Sanders, no one's going to be able to stop him. And right now, there's just too many alternatives, and no one alternative has shown that they're going to be strong enough to be able to be the one who blunts his momentum.
Well, and frankly, even if they were to coalesce around one person right now, the head-to-head matchups still show Bernie Sanders beating every other candidate out there right now head-to-head. So it may already be too late for them in a sense. I was curious, though, give us some more details on how the Nevada caucuses will run. What are some of the rules there? We really dug into this deep on Iowa. It ended up being obviously incredibly consequential. Those second alignments and how that converted to state delegate equivalents and all of that, not to mention this, disastrous shadow election doomsday app that they used. What do we know about how these caucuses will be run and how the rules there will play out?
Well, look, that's the big wild card right now. So the first one really is turnout. It's off the charts. Like I said earlier, 70,000 people have already voted, 84,000 in 2016 in total. So maybe it will relieve some of the pressure for people who are turning out on Saturday. They're not using the Doomsday app. Is that what you called it?
That's
the shadow app that blew up on them in the Iowa caucuses. They've gone to a Google tool that they'll be using. A lot of people are still being trained on it. I don't know. That's part of the unknown with caucuses, I guess, is that it's more difficult to tabulate results, more difficult to transmit them, apparently as well. So the DNC has been down here on the ground working with local party members at the caucus sites, training people on the tool. But as we saw with Iowa, I mean, this could go either way and potentially be another disaster for the party. But it should relieve some of the pressure that so many people have voted early. There's going to be caucus sites all around where I am here in Las Vegas at middle schools and high schools that we'll be going to see them in action. But definitely a few wild cards. And like you said, the realignment was another big story that came out of Iowa. Bernie Sanders definitely got the most on the first alignment. He had the highest raw vote total. And then we saw people who didn't meet that threshold of 15% move their support to other candidates, which ended up boosting them to higher delegate totals, and Pete Buttigieg in particular. So that's one that we just have no idea how that's going to play out, what people's second choices are, what people's third choices are. The people who voted early, they gave three choices. We saw the American Federation of Teachers come out last night and urge their members to support Biden, Sanders, and Warren. I hope I'm getting that right. Those three. So folks have three choices that they're putting in. We don't know what order their second choices will be or how that will impact the race. We just know that Bernie's the favorite going in, and then anything could happen on Saturday.
Certainly.
Will your vote count or not? Just part of the caucus fun here this year. Jonathan, thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it, man.
Coming up, Huffington Post's Dan Marins wrote that Mike Bloomberg got a rude awakening at the Las Vegas debate. More of his thoughts next.